First thing you're going to hear on that is all right. Anyway, so let's take a page view controller down here, drag this out onto the storyboard.
Yeah.
And let's go and find the isInitial view controller and check that. And
are we going to embed this into or no?
No, not right away. We're not going to embed it because this basically is the navigation. This guy does the navigation. So there's a couple of things here as far as different properties you can set on it. I was looking for okay, here it is, transition style. We can set this to I wanted to do curl, but I see a partial curl. Yeah, let's do the partial curl. All right. So that'll set that up. Then we're going to need to create a class for the page view controller. But we're only going to have basically one file, one class that's going to manage the paging rather than 3. So it'll be a little bit simpler. So Cocoa Touch, this guy is derived from the UIPageViewController. Make sure it's not page control, but page view controller.
And what are you calling it?
We'll call this the color view controller.
View controller though, that's what you want?
Yes.
Yep.
Color
Do not create a zip
color
file.
controller
Color view controller.
and no zippy.
Color view controller.
Oh, color view controller? Oops.
Yep.
This might be-
And there it is. We'll go ahead and create it. Boom. All right. So far, pretty simple. Just right from the page view controller.
So do we have to go and then go,
Go ahead.
I don't know what it's called, I gotta go look. Set the data source and delegate on the right away too, or?
Not just yet, but because the data source and delegate are kind of implied in this case. But what we do need to do is set the class of the storyboard file
That's understood.
to be the new one we just created. Wait, yeah, that's right.
Color.
Yeah. Then the next thing we'll do, and this is going to be a new concept that we have not done before, but this is a handy-dandy concept. If you have something where you're like displaying a bunch of view controllers and they're all doing something similar, you don't have to create a new class file for each one of them. So this is a new method that allows you to, it's not new, but it's new to you guys, that allow you to do that. Take a view controller, plop it on the storyboard.
You set a regular view controller?
Yeah, just a regular UI view controller. This will be one of our pages. And then with this guy, let's go ahead and go to the view on it right away. And then once you're in the view selected, go into the attributes inspector, set the background color of the view to be something like red. Why don't I have a, not showing up here. By golly. I don't want any of those. All right, so I'll have to go ahead and, yeah, something reddish. All right. That's pretty red. All right. And now what we're going to do to identify this view controller, because whenever you just plop a view controller or any object onto the storyboard, it's going to use just the default plain Jane view controller object that comes from Apple out of the box. So in order to uniquely identify this from any other view controller, what we're going to do in the attributes inspector, if you go back to the view controller, is, let's see here, if you go back into the identity inspector with the view controller selected, there's something over here in identity section called a storyboard ID.
Yep.
We're going to set that. So the storyboard ID allows you to identify different objects by ID as opposed to having to create a class behind it. So we're going to call this guy, ironically, the red view controller. on, make a little room here.
View controller is what he called it.
Yeah. As you might guess, since this is a paging app, we're going to have more of these guys. So I'm going to take another view controller, plop it out here. You can call it blue if you want. That's fine. Set your background color accordingly to whatever color you want. I'll go blue. Nice primary colors. Then going back into the view controller for that and set the storyboard ID for that one to be blue if you use blue or whatever color, followed by the word view controller. And then we'll do one more. So we got 3 that will, in case you haven't noticed yet, we have 3 sandwiches. We have 3 view controllers, so it's not just coincidental. Drag one more view controller out here. We'll make this one green. There's not going to be any gold, or actually, the truth be known, that's not gold. It's yellow. No green and yellow. Packers. It's green and gold. Yeah. So. Oops. Storyboard ID. Wait. We're on the view level, that's why. Green. And again, this needs to be green view controller, or if you're using green.
Oh, do we have a view controller or controller?
Pardon? View controller, it's green, whatever color you're using, and then view controller after it.
I want to put controller.
That'd probably be okay, but you'll see in a little bit that it'll work out easier for you if you use the whole word view controller. It would work the other way as well, but you'll see in a minute why we're doing it the way we're doing it, or why it's easier if you just do it that way. All right. So now we've got the basic makeup that we need to have a paging app. Next thing we want to do is go into our color view controller, which is our UIPageViewController class. And we're going to create a variable up here. It's going to look a little weird. Well, before we create the variable, let's do this. Let's come down here and we're going to create a method. We'll call this, we'll make it private because it's for our eyes only. We'll call this new colored view controller. If I could spell. Yeah. Then we're going to pass into it, not an image, but a color. And that's going to be a string. And then from that, that's going to return a UI view controller. So this is how we're going to generate our view controllers. And then after that, curly brace. Now here's how that storyboard ID thing that we created works. All right, so create or type return UI storyboard. Parenthesis, and then the word name. And that's the one you want, the name string bundle. The name of the bundle is main. Bundle will be nil. All right, so what this does is this gives us an instance of the storyboard. And then after that, go dot. And we want to instantiate view controller with identifier. Okay, so what this is going to do is gets an instance of the storyboard. So we could have created a separate storyboard variable, but we're doing this all in one shot because we're cool. So it creates an UI storyboard, and then it calls the UI storyboard dot instantiate view controller. So if you have a storyboard in your app, which you almost always will, you can use the storyboard to create a view controller using the identifier. And the identifier that we're going to use is this is where the naming convention comes into play. Color. Oops, I need a parenthesis here. Color like that, and then the word view controller after it. Carefully spelled. And I think that should match. Okay. So what this is doing is it gets the storyboard, it calls the storyboard's instantiate view controller with identifier. We're passing in a color to this method. It's going to take the word color and prefix it onto the word view controller. And so depending on which one we want, it's going to create one of our colored view controllers. Because remember, the storyboard identifiers we used were red view controller, green view controller, or blue. So it's going to create one of those using that identifier, passing in that string. So now that we have this method set up, now we can do some fancy stuff. So this is a little bit fancier way of creating a variable, and we're going to, because it's fancy, we're going to load this just in time. So we're not going to create this variable until we need it. We're going to typecast it as a set, so we can do set operations on it. We're going to make it lazy. That's the part that makes it just in time. So it's not going to be instantiated until we actually call it. And it's called ordered view controllers. And this is going to be an array of view controllers. These are our pages. Needs to be a colon in front of it. And then we set this equal to we're going to return an array. Self.new view controller, that's our method that we created, our new colored. I'm just going to copy and paste it. And we'll pass in color. I don't know why it wants to use the sandwiches. We'll start off with green. Oops. And then we'll just copy and paste and do red and blue, or whatever ones you guys have. Oops, something like that.
Now, if we didn't capitalize it.
However you spelled it, yeah, that's the way you want it to appear there. Right.
capitalize it.
Yep, it's however you spelled it is how you want to have it there. And I'll go red and blue. And let's see, I need to do, that's okay. That's okay. There. At the end, you need this little guy. Because when you do a lazy variable like this, you need to specify that you're, basically it treats it kind of like a function.
I did not call it.
I'm going to move this bracket up just because I'm weird that way. All right, there. Yeah, you might have to build it or rebuild it.
Do you have something after the brackets or is
Huh.
that smart?
Yeah.
Nice.
It's
That's your mouse.
curly brace.
Okay.
And parentheses.
I had it
Oh,
extra.
all right.
Control of those. I put UI view controller on the roll.
No, I saw his mouse on the screen and it looked like something else.
Oh, the bracket again?
Oh. I'm just trying to be helpful, not competitive, jeez.
No, I just can't type. UI view controller, blah, blah, blah. Like, what the hell?
Apple introduces the new class, the UI view controller.
No, it wasn't controller, it was controller.
They do that
Wait,
too.
what?
When you type the same word over and over, it like blurs together.
I started adding a couple extra L's in there.
Controller.
Is it supposed to do anything other than a black
Oh,
screen?
might be on
It's not going to do anything yet. So we have some more coding to do first. So what this does is this creates this lazy variable which is going to only be called at runtime when it's needed. And then when it does, it's going to construct this array passing in the colors. And it's only going to do it because we got this method down here. It's going to do it as needed. And then it's going to create the view controller with the name that we're passing in. So red, green, blue. So you can really use anything you want, but it's kind of handy to use the word view controller because then you know what you're talking about. All right, so another thing we need to do, in the view did load, we need to set up the data source of, so the data source is a built-in property of the page view controller. That's going to be us. So that sets up the data source. We don't need a delegate right now. What are you not liking about this? To UI page. Yeah, I should be able to. Oh wait, no, that's right. I haven't. I got to do something else yet first, but that's okay. Let it be. It can complain for right now. Yeah, it can yell. All right. Next, we'll need to, after we've done that, we need to establish what the first view controller is that we're going to display. So what we'll do is do if, one of these if lets first view controller equals, what do we call it, ordered view controllers. Dot first, so this is the set notation thing. So we're not, even though this is kind of defined as an array, we're typecasting it as a set, so that lets us call first and next and last and that kind of thing. As UI view controller, I don't know if I need to do that typecast, but if I order view controllers at first as UI view controller, do this. Can call set, we'll set our initial view controllers, set view controllers. And to start off with, the view controllers are going to consist of first. So we're just starting off with the first view controller. Direction, I think there's a dot forward. Yep. Animated true. And completion can be nil. Boom. All right. So on the view did load, we're going to set up, maybe we won't, it's not liking something.
We wanted to take forward and go forward anyway.
No. All right. So I had to add a question mark after the as instead of an exclamation point. But that should be okay. So first controller,
Still yelling
Is
at
it
me.
dot forward?
Yeah,
dot forward, yeah, sorry. Dot forward.
Mine's still unhappy
it
with
says
that.
initializer for conditional binding must have optional type, not UI view controller.
Yeah. So that's why you need you have the exclamation point after the first and a question mark after the as, and that should satisfy it.
I didn't do that.
No.
Okay, so in the view did load, it's going to create the first view controller. Say this is using the dot first from our set of guys up here. So this will not be created until this gets called. As soon as this dot first gets called, it's going to say oh, it wants the first one of these, oh, this hasn't been created yet, I'm gonna create this guy using the new color view controller, and it will create the green one and display it. So that'll be the first view controller. And so that's almost enough to allow us to run it, except that we have this issue yet. And to make that work, we either have to set this up as a UIPageViewController data source, which is kind of what they did in the other app. They had a separate file and everything for it. The other thing we can do, which is what the cool kids do, is we can make an extension to this class. So if we go down to the bottom, oh my gosh, I have all this stuff in here. I'm going to delete this, give us some more room. And I'm going to create some white space so you guys can see what's being typed. All right. So outside the class completely down here, we're going to create an extension method. And if you guys remember from when we did this before, an extension method allows you to basically extend the functionality of a framework class. This is going to be page, what do we call this? Page view controller, I think. Page view controller, or color view controller, sorry. Extension. Color view controller. This is going to be, the extension is the UI page view controller data source. So that's what we're extending onto this class. So this is kind of like saying, yeah, this guy is going to be able to do this because we're extending its functionality. And it probably is blocking because I don't have everything implemented. Yeah, it doesn't conform to the protocol, yada yada. So we got to add some methods. So first one we got to add is going to be the page view controller. I think it's the very first one. I'm just going to hit enter and hope for the best. Yep, the view controller after. For right now, I'm going to just return nil. And what do you not like? All right. Don't follow the instructions of the little red bullseye thing because it's telling you to change it from after to before. But we need both of these methods. So what would happen is if I actually went ahead and did what it tells me to do,
And you have to make it again?
then I have to make it again and say, well, you need the after. It's like, okay, so we guess basically what it means is you have to implement both of them or you can't have either of them. So I call page view controller the next guy. And this one might be, yeah, that's the after. And again, we'll just return nil.
So it doesn't matter what order they're in though?
No, it doesn't. Just have to have both of them.
How did you find the after one?
Same way I did the before. I started typing page view controller.
I still cannot convert value of type UI view controller to expected argument type UI view controller. Up above the flat, when I try to run it,
Where was this?
right there.
This?
Order view controllers,
And what is the error it's giving you?
the set view controllers, it's first view controller.
Do you have first view controller in brackets?
No, I don't, that's what it is. How's it I was getting it?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, good.
Because what you're doing is you're creating an array. So right now it just consists of one view controller. So if you run it now, it should hopefully display the green view controller.
My page is black.
And mine is still building.
I got a red page.
Must have set one from the
Is red your first page?
Yeah.
Okay.
And if we flip pages, will it change?
It won't because we haven't implemented, because right now the before and after we're just returning nil.
Oh, you're right.
Did you move back it?
You don't have to learn
What's wrong, Isaiah?
it failed, but
Clean it. Clean it.
legal configuration, key commands must have title keys and selector, select each row on the table to check its something.
What?
Sounds like a mistype to me.
So remember that what you pass into that,
Go
Go to
to,
the view.
go to this, what did you name yours?
Click on the view controller.
Blue.
You capitalized it, so make sure you capitalize it. Did you do, what about the other two? Cause you got green first.
Yeah.
Green's good.
Did you want to set the class that refers to view controller? Yeah, you get that there. So go back in the actual code, let's see if there's a mistype.
They don't have to be named like right there, how you have green, red, blue in the same order, do they? No, here's the order.
nope, they don't, but they just have to match with,
Yeah, they do.
okay, capitalization's correct and all that.
Clean code.
Looks like
Do you have the data source equals self in the view did load?
Yes, he does.
And you have the first view controller set
Yeah, it's
like that?
Goes into that.
And you have the, everything is the same in your new colored view controller?
where's it there?
Alright.
So, it's saying it's in your storyboard.
You didn't look at your green.
Oh, yeah, you named the green one. That was the one. So, I'll move my fingers.
The blue one for some reason.
Oh, it's working, it's just taking you the wrong one.
No, it's, no, the
error is
the
taken
error, when
back.
he clicks on it, takes him to the blue one
Oh.
specifically.
Probably something wrong with that particular one.
Can
And
you
what's
hover
here?
over that? What is it?
So what you can do, where are your other view controllers? So as soon as you run it, it just takes you to the blue one?
No, it
The
doesn't.
build
It
fails.
Right, but does it, you said it pointed
No,
to
when
that?
you click on this,
It takes you to that, okay.
but it says 3 issues right there, so maybe.
That could be.
That's where the two,
Yeah.
you'll have some of those small ones.
Why don't you try, go back to your code and where you're creating the array, just, you can comment out the blue. Do a /* and then at the end of the blue, you have to do a star. /. Yeah. Yeah, yep. Try that.
So good.
Still takes you that one, but I think that's just sheer coincidence.
Back in your code, I don't know if anything else would happen. You need a space after controllers,
Weird. What do you?
in between the bracket there, like up. In between,
I think he's got a space there.
right there?
What about this, is there
No.
space
You
here?
don't have to have space there? No.
First, controller.
Is that supposed to be dot, is that just hold the next line?
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems to be something that's related to the storyboard, though. That's why it takes you to the storyboard.
Not the code.
I think the code is right.
Green is the main.
What if you delete the blue
Yeah,
one?
try that. Try deleting the blue one.
Do it again.
No, go ahead.
It just doesn't like the blue.
That's weird. So now you
Just
can
Blue
put
didn't
me
put
back
it
in.
back in, yeah.
Yeah, I just recreated. Sure, what? You didn't like copy that from one of the other ones, did you? All right.
That's weird.
We'll watch it.
Blueberry.
Give it a go. See what happens. Should be all you need.
Yeah, watch it. I think
Code.
I'll venture.
Because it was coming out.
Well, yeah, but even with the code commented, it didn't matter. Try to see if it works without first.
You
Yeah.
just-
All right, so now you can put it back in.
That's weird.
Oh, annoying, right?
Yeah.
It's like working with PHP.
That's
Yeah.
JavaScript.
Error. Why? Because I said so.
Even better though, because we have Sigaberts.
Oh, I hate Sigaberts. What does Sigabert stand for?
Signal abort.
Oh, no, it's not.
Because it's got a signal that is communicating between the Xcode and the simulator.
What did Bert tell Ernie when Ernie wanted some ice cream?
You used this joke once before, but I can't remember the answer.
Or what did Ernie tell Bert when Bert wanted some ice cream? Sorry. Sure, Bert.
I didn't hear that. That's so corny that it's funny.
That is about the same level as the last one. Let's
Yeah.
not encourage it anymore.
Yeah, you've definitely got you've captured a certain level there with it.
It's as high as I go.
That's what she said.
Oh. All right, that was recorded. So anyway, continuing on. So we're not going to return nil anymore. We want to actually do paging. So see, this is the before view controller before. All right, so this is where you're on a page, you swipe to go back. All right, so what's that? All right.
Page before.
Let's do the guardlets. Call this view controller. This is the before method. View controller index equals ordered view controllers dot index of is what we want. That is going to be this one, index of view controller. And you notice that with this method, it passes in a view controller.
Oh,
That's what we
Jesus.
want. No, there. Index of view controller. Else. Actually, I have the syntax wrong. Sorry. Else goes before the bracket. Else, like that. Return nil. So what this is saying is try to get the index of the view controller passed in. If that fails, like it throws an exception, return nil. So something's horribly wrong. Next block will be let previous index. So we've passed that. Previous index equal view controller index minus 1. So we're going after the previous one. All right, so then the next thing we need to check is ordered view controllers, oops,
Okay. So it's in here.
dot count. Make sure that the count is greater than previous index. Else, again, return nil. Yeah. Ill.
Ew. Ew.
Then
All right. Okay, else return nil. Then the last thing we need to do, so we've done both those checks, we should be good. You can say var previous equals ordered view controllers, previous index. And we can return that. Actually, let's just do this. Let's just return this. Later on, we'll need to create a separate variable for this, but for right now, we can just return it. All right, so we go through and check, make sure that the index is valid, that there's a valid view controller, and then we return the previous one. So the logic for the after is going to be similar, as you might suspect. So we can probably just go ahead and copy and paste this stuff down there. I'm going to reverse it.
What did you have in your colored view controller? Because I think do you have anything in there?
In the colored, where are you talking about? In
Well, you're moving all the dots.
In the new colored view controller.
No,
What is that?
this guy?
Okay, I'm okay.
So what do you want to do with the view after now?
All right, so this is going to be pretty much the same, only it's the opposite logic. We still need to get the index of the view controller, except now we're going to add one to it. And this will be next index.
So this is the,
Actually, we need to
he's
call.
got his before on top.
I know, it's messing with,
Yeah,
it's messing with my mind a
Me
little bit.
too, I think I'm gonna plot mine, 'cause
That's what I was just like, I can't do it here.
Oh, you got the after on top?
Yes.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just-
yes, in
Why
all
would you-
fairness, you told us not to switch it.
Yeah, I mean, you
I
can.
concur with her.
I just switched it right away.
Okay, so
Whatever.
+1 and what else are we changing?
So
Next one.
I changed the previous to next, and this is changed to next index, and then down here you're returning next index.
So change everything to previous to the word next.
Yeah.
And a +1. Mine
Right.
is not like this at all.
By the way, I don't know who fixed my keyboard, but thank you very much. My keyboard is working.
Is it? I don't know. I did not specifically ask for anyone to fix it, so.
Yeah, I just thought I'd say that.
Steve Jobs was looking down upon you and took mercy
For
upon you.
anybody who watches this YouTube video, I want them to understand that I appreciate when
This can't be recorded.
Okay, let's do this before we, this actually, I need to change this logic a little bit. So what we want to make sure of is that the next index is not equal to the count. Otherwise, we're going to get an array out of bounds error.
I had a problem with mine
Did you get the circles?
Do you want me to help? Or do you not want me to help?
I'll help.
Did you get the circle error? That means you're missing a bracket.
Really?
Really? Really, I had the same one when I copied and pasted it. It caused a
I
curly,
copied and pasted.
it caused a curly brace error. So
Yeah, so there should be one actually.
Is that one or was that one?
It fixed my problem, what are you talking about?
Okay, I think with this little added piece of logic I have here, we should be all right.
So dot count is, whoa. So it's greater than dot count, which is not, it's now not equal to,
Yeah.
equal to
Well,
the
you
next
got one
else.
over here.
So you have just that one extra step now.
Yeah. All right, I think it's ready to go now.
Hold on, don't do anything, because I don't know nobody else got that.
All right.
I got it.
Okay.
Moving on. Full
It's
speed
down
ahead.
here.
You know, it says, we let him come up. Just remember the last time we were nice enough and you told me what was going on?
Yeah, you're right.
That's true.
I'd be like, the next,
It's because I asked about it. You just weren't going to tell me until I asked about it.
And everyone kind of rallied around him just now when he was having troubles and helped him out.
yeah, no, I mean, why is he gotta be such a hater, man?
This There's a chance for you to get 2 points here. I'll let you have first chance to help.
I'm good.
I'll let you have first chance to
Hold
help.
on,
Did you find it, Kristen?
I figured it out
but now,
on my
let's see,
own.
what are you doing here?
He had an extra line of code up in the bottom
Ooh.
where it says guard order view control count greater than next index. Right above it, there's a not equal to index. That's the way we change code. You cannot see it on there.
There's one other thing, so I missed this too. So guard,
Can I go to something?
yeah, this is in the before. So
Okay.
gotta make sure that the previous index is greater than equal to 0. And then that needs an else. Return nil. There. So that one checks to make sure it's not less than 0. The other one checks to make sure it's not greater than the count. Okay,
Whoa.
now I think we're ready.
No,
No.
they did not see it. Those two. the
Too
two
late,
over there.
pal. All right, where are we at?
It's
Mine works.
the line above
Pages.
where you have guard order view
So it's-
next index, else return nil. Put a exact same thing except not equal to next index.
Us?
Yeah.
I'm looking
Guard,
back. Mine works.
guard.
Right?
Well, look at this guy. You help him out, and then he's just like, "Oh, mine works. I don't care about you."
I'm just giving him the opportunity to gain more points for his team.
All right.
And change this to
Greater.
not equal to.
Was that the not equal? Not
That's the
equal?
not equal. Yep, that's the not equal to. And then the other one he put
Right here.
that one. Guard. Yep. Okay, you guys should be good.
Oh, no, I'm not doing it.
Well, I helped.
Yes, you
And then
did.
she'll-
First one though.
You did.
And then she'll lean over and help him. So I mean, it's everybody equals out in points. There's no point. So
You did the one at the top.
I get that.
mine works. Yes, it does. And it's pretty.
Now we know what's wrong with that keyboard.
He's freaking out over here.
Why are you freaking out?
Everything's just.
Serenity now. Does it work?
Except that
Yeah,
mine,
mine worked.
okay, there it goes.
Did you ever use Plex?
I don't know.
Pretty purple.
I don't think so. What is it?
It's a server that you can put on your computers for media, movies.
Oh.
Basically make your own home server and then you can go out to any of your smart devices, Roku devices, through Plex as an app. You manage your own stuff.
I actually have something similar to that, only it's not Plex. I use Western Digital MyCloud, so it's a cloud server, your own
Sure.
personal one.
Well, this is your own server. You basically use like a computer and put Plex on it, make it into a server.
Oh no, this is just it's just like a little. Basically, it's a little like storage server, and you can. I don't know if you can partition it to run apps on it. Right now, it's just like a storage server is all it really is. You can put media on it. You can put whatever you want.
No, you make your own. So for example, if you had movies that you had digital copies of movies, you like when you download them or whatever, you can put it on Plex and then watch it through like a Roku device through the Plex app. So basically, you're making your own server.
What would be
talking-
the point of doing that if you already have them, like, probably
But it also would
Vudu
work
or
for-
whatever?
That's it. I'm using it primarily for pictures, so I can download pictures off of whatever, put it on there, and then view it on any device. Or music.
You pay for Plex? That's great.
I'm trying to get it to set up. And I'm getting an irritating error, and it's pissing me off.
Hmm.
It says I'm missing one DLL file. Just cannot figure out why.
Well, put the DLL file there.
I did. I wanted to download it, so I have to. I haven't had a chance to restart my computer.
Well, that's
I,
DLLs are loaded into RAM, so until you restart it, it won't pick that up.
it was annoying because the computer itself would not boot, so I had to reset to factory with keeping my files
Oh,
and redo all the data on there to get it to work, and then do all the drivers.
see, that's why I like. Wow, that is so cool. Look at how they made that, just like a page. That is just really neat. Those guys are brilliant. All right, so anyway, continuing on. So what we've done is we made a page controller. The pages through different colored UI view controllers. It's really basically it's like one view controller with different storyboard IDs, which is great. The only problem is it's really, really limited because that's about all you can do is set the basic properties of the view controller and the storyboard. You know, you could change it so the title's different, or you could change it so that the background color is different. You could, I mean, whatever the basic properties of that are available in the storyboard property setter, that's all you can do. So it's pretty limited. So what we're going to do now is we're going to incorporate our sub sandwiches into it, and that's the next step. Yeah. So
You are making me marry
let's do this. Let's go ahead and add a new class. Cocoa Touch class. This will be derived from UIPageViewController, just a basic UIPageViewController. And we'll call this our sub view controller. Do not create a zip file. And go ahead and create. All right. So now that we've done that, if you have that guy created, let's go back to the main storyboard. And this is where confusion will abound. We're still going to use our storyboard ID. That's how we're going to identify these guys. But change the class of each one of your view controllers to be that new one you just created, the sub view controller. Mind equals blown. We're using the same class for all three of these guys.
Got it.
All right. Then in our sub view controller, we're going to do some programming stuff. We're going to do some just crazy, bless you, Apple kick butt programming. All right. Normally we create outlets for these guys. We're just throwing that to the wind. We're going to say screw it. Let's do this. Create a var image view, which is a UI image view. Create an image, which is a UI image. Then in view did load, so now a little bit of a refresher. View did load gets called one time, and that's the first time that the view gets created. After that, this will not get called. So we're going to have to code up a view did load and a view will appear because we're going to be swiping back and forth. So in the view did load, what we're going to do is we're going to create a rectangle equals CG rect. This is going to be the rectangle that we're going to use to hold our image view, and use the one with the floats. These guys are all around about 230 pixels, 240 pixels wide, about 160, 180 high. So we're just going to create this to kind of fit all of them. So the location in the X is going to be the middle of our window minus 115 pixels. So it appears right dead center in the screen. So we can do that by going view.frame.midX minus 115. So that'll give you 230 pixels total width. Y will be view.frame.mid-Y minus about 90. And width is 230. And height is 180. That's our rectangle. And then we say image view equals UI image view, because we're going to create this guy one time. What is your problem?
You want to
frame, putting that in there?
Yeah, it needs the name of the parameter. Rect. All right. Then, all important, view.add subview, passing the image view. Okay, so that'll create it. It's not going to set the image in yet. So for that, we need the view will appear. So we type view will appear. And in the view will appear, we say image view dot image equals image. There. And then that sets up our sub view to display the sub. All right, so now our controlling view controller, the page view controller, is the one that has knowledge of which view is going to be displayed. So in there, in our color view controller, this is where we're going to set up which sub, basically, which view controller to display, or, you know, yeah, what image basically to put on the view controller. All right, so we do the if let. I'm going to add a line of code in here. After the go away yellow bar of anger. All right. Right before the set view controllers, we're going to say first. Oh, here's another thing you got to do. This guy needs to be changed from a UI view controller to a sub view controller.
Which one?
In the view did lower, you say the if let first view controller equals blah blah blah.
That's the only.
Yeah. Apple. I think it's because what it was complaining about was that I was typecasting a UI view controller to a UI view controller. And it's probably just saying, yeah, it's ambiguous, you don't really need that. All right, so now what we can do, now that we have this, is say first view controller dot image equals something we haven't done yet. So we need to create those. All right. So up here we need to create a variable. Call this subs. This is an array of UI images. We can initialize it. We can say bmt.png. You get the little square thing. ham.png, square thing, turkey.png, closing bracket.
So it actually should have a name there.
It actually should have that little like square.
It's BMT ham and turkey.
I was a little slow there. I just kept putting squares and like, why are now squares?
Yeah. All right, so now here, get rid of my little comment and let's say subs. Actually, I could probably go. I just hard code it. Doesn't matter because it's the first one, and we know it's the first one. All right. Then in the next ones, in the view after and all that stuff, this is where we're going to have to break out. So right now we have return ordered view controller's previous index. Remember before I was going to create a variable and then return the variable. This is where we're going to have to do that. So I'm going to cut this out. Put it in the line above. I'll say prev equals. And then we can say prev.index, image is going to be equal to the previous sub's previous index. And then we return prev. All right, so it's thinking it is.
I like that image when you try to put it in, by the way.
Yeah, it doesn't.
No, it didn't, so.
Yeah, it didn't like, when you type image, it doesn't actually pre-fill image.
No, it won't because it has to be typecast as a sub view controller. Then we just copy that code and put it in the other function.
And change everything to next.
Yep. That is next index.
And try to run it.
Yeah, give her a go. Let's see if our subs show up.
Sandwiches. Ooh. Yummy.
All right. That one's a little ugly, but I'm not an artist. I just kind of hack these up off the Subway site. So, yeah, so it's displaying them. Hopefully you guys have the same results.
My Black Forest ham on purple background turns out best.
God, that's just amazing. I'm just so amazed by how well they do that. Anyway, so I think the thing though that I'm trying to kind of stress is that you can create this guy really with just the one page view controller without having to have a separate model view controller. And then you can repurpose, you can create one class to represent all of your pages and just swap out various components using the parent view controller to kind of manage it. And so you could create a book this way, if you wanted to. You just create content on different storyboard, and these storyboard files, if you wanted to, I would probably do it programmatically rather than creating a bunch of storyboard files. But your storyboard files, the nice thing about that is you can use an ID. So if you did this programmatically, you'd have to create your class, you'd have to instantiate it and then give it your own identifier and then manage that yourself. But you can use, in this example, we used one basic storyboard, or 3 basic storyboard files were represented by one class, which was the subview controller. And we just swap out different properties to make it work right. All right, so that's basically about it. You guys want to check out that thing, see if it's still going on, or the hacker fest? We'll do one more thing with view controllers. We'll go a little bit further. We're going to do next class. We won't have time to really start on it this class. Next class, we're going to do an actual page control. That's one with the little dots. This one's a page view controller, or it's handling the page curl, and it's basically, it's kind of like a table view controller versus a table view. Table view controller takes up the whole available screen real estate. Same thing with a page view controller. It takes up the available real estate. With a page control, you get the little dots like these guys here, and it doesn't take up all the available screen real estate, so you can put other stuff on there if you want. So that's what we'll do next class, and then that'll be it for the page controller. And then I forget what I have in the syllabus after that. I think it's the stack view, if I'm not mistaken. But I wanted to run it by you because Glenn had mentioned the whole old guy game thing, the Pong, making a Pong game. Here we go. But the Pong game will probably take a good 3 weeks worth of work. Because we'll have to get into Sprite kits and stuff like that. Syllabus.
How does Xcode feel about you renaming projects?
What Xcode doesn't know won't hurt it. What is it? What is it? How's it feel about what?
Like if I renamed my project,
Oh,
would it?
damage.
I'm just wondering, I won't do it then, I understand.
No, you can do it. You can do it. It's fine. It's just that I think if you go ahead and do it, like if I were to go ahead and do it right now, let's see if I want to call this amazing stuff. What it'll do is it'll pop up this window, Kristen. It'll say rename project content items. And then it'll go through and it'll automatically find every place where your project is being referenced and it will rename them. So I'll rename mine, click OK. See if it works. You just go ahead up to the top level and just click on it and just type in the new name. And it seems like that works just fine because I renamed mine to amazing stuff and it was okay. So going back and looking at the syllabus, we did core data. We're doing the pager application right now. Next up is stack views and then serialization. So weeks 11 through 13, I definitely need to do. We need to do serialization and downloading data using a web URL. But then after that, I was going to do local storage, keychain stuff, blah, blah, blah. So we could probably devote weeks 14 through 16 to making a Pong game if you'd like to do that.
Homework-wise, when would be our last homework assignment?
We probably would. The last project would be doing the JSON and the web. We probably wouldn't have a project based off of the Pong game. Well, I take that back because otherwise you guys will just say, "Oh, I don't need to show up because we're not doing a project." So,
Well,
We would never do.
because I'm wondering, could you do like for those last few weeks? Because usually, I mean, not that I'm saying it is procrastinate, but half lecture, half rather than 2 hours, and then we do lab for part of it.
yeah, that's fine.
Or even maybe do a lab in between now and then.
What I could do is actually, now that I think about it, is I can do that. But then with the Pong game, what I'll do is I will probably make an assignment off it, but it'll be extra credit. So if you do it, you get extra credit for it. And it would not be something as advanced as Pong. It'd probably be something simpler. Like one thing we did a couple of semesters ago was you have to use some gravity, I think, when we do the Pong game. So what we did is we had a real basic app that we made that had 3 ledges on it, and you had a box. And then depending on how you tipped your device, the box would tumble off the ledge, and then you had to try and catch it on the next ledge. It was pretty basic. It wasn't real hard. So maybe something like that you could do for extra credit. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. Just something fun for
You
us.
have to remember at that time in the semester, with the 2 of us that are going to be graduating, we're going to have senioritis.
Well, you don't have to. That's why it's extra credit.
Senioritis for 10 years. I'm still here.
Senioritis is for kids, Glenn. Come on.
I can
Wait,
do
senior
that.
citizen. Well, I was gonna say he doesn't mean senior graduate. He means senior.
As in
Art card.
old guy, yeah.